Good evening and welcome to Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Joanna Hernandez. On the show tonight. Tomorrow is the deadline for Cook County suburbs to apply for migrant assistance funds. Disability advocates say a patchwork of city program isn't doing the job repairing sidewalks. And exploring the health impacts of food deserts. And now to some of today's top stories. The family of Dexter Reed is demanding criminal charges against the Chicago police officers who fatally shot the 26-year-old during a traffic stop last month. Family and community members are planning to rally outside police headquarters tonight at 6 p.m. ahead of the police board meeting to urge the 5 officers to be fired and to demand an end to tactical teams. The outcry comes after the release of police body camera footage of the traffic stop showing officers shooting at Reed 96 times in 41 seconds. Officials say the plainclothes tactical team responded with gunfire after Reed shot first at police, wounding 1 officer. And a GoFundMe page for one of the victims in this week's shooting in the back of the yards tops more than $20,000. 9-year-old Adriana Molina was killed in a mass shooting on Saturday that left 10 others injured. Police say shots were fired at a crowd standing outside a family gathering around 9 p.m. No one was in custody as of Sunday. According to police, they are still investigating a motive. Molina's uncle, Antonio Molina, launched the GoFundMe page. And unionized workers at Howard Brown Health say they've reached a tentative agreement on their first union contract. It comes after about a year and a half of negotiations and 2 strikes. A ruling from the National Labor Relations Board that found merit charges of unfair labor practices and the layoffs of 61 unionized workers. Union leaders say the agreement includes pay increases, wage transparency for members, a new minimum wage standard, and insurance for part-time employees. The approval vote begins April 29th and ends May 1st. Up next, details on an upcoming deadline for assessing funds for migrant assistance. That's right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by the support of these donors.
Cook County set aside $20 million in grants to assist migrants in the suburbs last fall. Tomorrow is the deadline for applications. And according to a report by WBEZ, only 2 suburbs have applied. Joining us now with more are Chelsea Thomas, Executive Coordinator at Empowerment Anywhere, and Carl Wolf, Executive Director at Respond Now. Thank you both for joining us. And Carl, I want to go to you. What is the Cook County Disaster Response and Recovery Fund, and how can organizations like yours obtain resources from this fund?
Yes, so the Cook County government made $100 million available last year for disaster relief around the migrant crisis, and $20 million of those dollars are to be used by the Cook County suburbs. And those funds can be used for anything from transitional housing, shelter, food, case management, and homelessness prevention relief or rental assistance. And the process of obtaining or accessing these dollars is for the municipalities in Cook County to apply for these dollars, to receive the dollars, and then perhaps partner with agencies such as Respond Now. If they would like, they can partner with agencies such as Respond Now or others to help deliver these funds into the community for migrants who are in need of this assistance. Yeah.
And Chelsea, going to you, Fort Heights is one of the only 2 suburb communities that have applied for funding. What are these funds being used for in Fort Heights?
So for us, the funds are being used for shelter. So we'll have a 40-bed homeless shelter. We also are using it for food, for security, for the supplies that we need to take care of them while they are there. This will be their home. As well as we're using it for job readiness, ESL training, so that when they leave there, they are prepared to live a better life.
Are you seeing an increase of asylum seekers in the suburbs?
Yes, we are. We definitely are.
And what I found interesting, Carl, was there are more than 100 suburbs in Cook County. Why do you think only 2 have applied for the funding for this grant?
Well, I think there's probably a couple of reasons. One is it's a capacity issue, perhaps, for the municipalities to do this application and then to administer the delivery of these dollars into the community. But also, I think there are probably political implications as well. The arrival of our brothers and sisters from Venezuela and throughout Central and South America is one of controversy for much of Chicagoland and the United States. And so, it just makes me wonder whether or not there are political considerations into whether or not, the municipalities are actually...
like you're saying there's money there.
There's money there. There's $20 million available to assist with, as far as Respond Now is concerned, is an impending crisis of people who are living in the south suburbs, who are settled out and in homes and renting homes, and they've received 3 months worth of assistance or 6 months worth of assistance from the state. They have yet to receive their work authorizations from the federal government. And now that assistance from the state is running out, they are in danger of eviction. And so we are concerned at Respond Now that these families that have settled out in the suburbs, in the south suburbs, are going to be in danger of eviction and then homeless.
Of course. So would you say that some of these suburbs have responsibility to try to help?
Well, yes. I mean, we all have responsibilities. I mean, we're one human family, and our brothers and sisters are here from other parts of the world for whatever reason. But folks are here, and we need to build community and make community together.
And Chelsea, going to you, have you received any pushback in your community about opening a migrant shelter? Can you just talk to me a little bit more about that process?
I think people are concerned. Like, we have homeless people here. Why do we want to help others? But it's one of our missions to empower people to win, no matter what walk of life they come from. And so I think that that's been our biggest focus. And no matter who you are, where you come from, we want to help everyone. And so even though there is pushback, this is an opportunity to have more jobs in the community. This is an opportunity for organizations to give back if they want to volunteer, if they want to serve. And so while there may be some pushback and some people that may not understand it, I know that it's our passion to help others. And so that is what our goal is to do here.
Have you met some of these families?
We have met a few of the families. I think that was one thing. It was such a crazy moment where I was able to meet some of the migrants who had come here and talked about like how long it took them to get here. And that really ignited my passion, and to see someone who would travel months to come to this country to just really want to help see them win.
And how has that communication been like with also people from the community, connecting people and just getting to know each other? Have you guys had the opportunity to do that as well?
So that's been something that I've been trying to communicate. We actually just got approved to open today, so we won't actually have the families move in until this coming Tuesday. But I think that as that happens, we will be communicating what's going on and just helping them. It's my goal to help them understand why we are doing this.
Of course. Can you tell me a little bit about what other programs we'll be offering at the shelter?
So at the shelter, we will be offering ESL. We have our ESL Learning Lab where they can go twice a day. We will be bringing in ESL instructors. We partner with Cornerstone to have job readiness, so they'll have training as well as job placement, as well as just making sure that they're fed, making sure that they have everything they need so that at the end of 90 days when they leave, they will get housing. We also are working with housing for them so that they can get housing as they transition out.
Oh, Carl, you talked a little bit about this, but can you tell us more about the services Respond Now provides? And if you were to receive money from this fund, how would your organization spend it?
Yes, so Respond Now, since 1969, has been providing health, hunger, and housing services in the far south suburbs. We are located in Chicago Heights. If this funding was to become available in any of one of the 22 south suburban communities that we serve, and that Respond Now was asked to help deliver these dollars, the most important thing we believe, shelter is very important. It's a really wonderful thing that Fort Heights has taken this step. But there's also a need for rental assistance in the communities for these families that are facing eviction. And so Respond Now as an organization has this capacity for 50 years now to deliver these kinds of dollars into the community for people who are facing eviction. It's something that we've been doing for a long time, and we're ready to do it. Yeah. We just really urge our suburban municipalities in which we serve for those governments to apply.
What would you say is something that impacts you the most through your work?
Impacts me. I think that to know that that resources are available generally, we live in the richest country in the world, and for there to be resources to serve all generally, but then for there to be this specific instance as well, where these dollars are immediately available and we're not able to get those dollars for whatever reason is a huge impact and it's disheartening.
Of course.
Yes.
And Chelsea, last question to you. The deadline is tomorrow. What do you want to say to other suburbs? Why is it important to act now?
I think one, it's important. I believe it's our obligation to serve others, to serve people. But I also don't want them to look at it as just, I know for us, we're in it for the long haul. So while they are offering this funding, we've been able to renovate a building that hadn't been used for 7 years in that community. We've been able to offer jobs to that community that has been underserved. And we're also able to help people. But once the funding runs out, we have a homeless shelter that we can also use to help home the people that are here in Chicago.
Carl, any last thoughts?
I hope that the municipalities get a hold of county government tomorrow. Whether or not Respond Now is an organization that provides the services, it doesn't matter. These dollars need to be in our communities.
Well, thank you both for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, who decides which Chicago sidewalks get repaired? WTTW News investigates right after this. They are the most widely used transportation routes in Chicago. We're talking about sidewalks, but when they are damaged, how and when they get repaired is not as straightforward as you might think. It's leading disability advocates and others calling for reforms. WTTW News investigative reporter Jared Rutecki joins us now with more. Now, Jared, you spend months checking out different sidewalks across Chicago and different neighborhoods. Can you tell us, how does the city currently identify damaged sidewalks?
Yeah, the city maintains its sidewalks through a combination of its 311 infrastructure program and inspections. It makes repairs in every neighborhood, but the city was unable to tell me how much of its sidewalk system actually needed to get repaired, which is a huge gap in knowledge. So there's sort of issues in conditions across the city, and there are places that don't use the 311 system, kind of furthering the gaps in certain locations.
And you personally saw yourself like some of the sidewalks that people were complaining about. So once the city is notified of a damaged sidewalk, how is it repaired?
Yeah, so the city maintains its sidewalks through a patchwork of programs. Responsibility falls to the Department of Transportation, local ward offices, and the people of Chicago. The ward offices can use menu money. There are major streetscaping programs, hazardous repair programs. There's also programs to put handicap accessible ramps in place. But the most popular program is the shared cost sidewalk program. It mirrors plans in a lot of other cities across the country. You think of it as I pay half, the city pays half, and essentially it offers discounts for older residents and people with disabilities. Residents get about a day to sign up for the program, so almost as many people get left out of the program as get accepted for it most years.
And also, you analyze city data on the shared cost program where you talked about it a little bit. What did the data show you about where these repairs are taking place?
Yeah, much like the 311 system, participation in the shared cost program is mixed up as you go throughout the city. Some communities use it more than others. There's a saying about the city that all maps of Chicago are in fact the same map, and I think if you look at shared cost, it has a very similar pattern that you're looking at, essentially, that it's sort of less bad, more good on the north side, and the opposite on the south and west side. So you get a lot of difference there, and the factors with the higher income communities kind of drive this a little bit further, where you get more single-family home ownership and income that kind of drive these factors, where communities like Norwood Park, Beverly have a lot higher usage in the program, where other communities don't. You see way more use on the north side than the south and west side. sides. The most obvious reason is obviously money. I mean, if you don't have the money to spend on the shared cost sidewalk program, then those sort of benefits aren't going to come to you. And I think these problems impact people with varying degrees of disabilities across the city.
And talking about change, what potential reforms have advocates and officials proposed?
So many view this program as kind of placing too high of a priority on transportation via road and less so on sidewalks. A small increase in funding for sidewalks would make a huge difference, according to a ton of the people I've talked to. The Office of the Inspector General recently issued a report that said service-based requests are kind of problematic and that they deliver service unevenly and not efficiently. It pointed to ways that programs like shared costs, though it wasn't specifically about the sidewalk issue, could proactively look at the sidewalks to get an idea of what the conditions were so that they could fix problems before they start. I talked to an alderman who said that maybe a grid-based system would be a better way of doing this rather than relying on costs, and this would be one way to bring communities into the system and to get kind of better transportation system for the system that people use most all the way across the city.
Well, thank you, Jared, for your report.
Thank you.
And you can read Jared's full story on our website. That's all at WTTW.com/news. A city report finds 29% of Latinos in Chicago are experiencing food insecurity. Not only do families struggle accessing enough food, but finding nutritious foods to stay healthy can also be more difficult. In an effort to address this issue, the state recently announced the new Stores and Food Deserts grant program. Meanwhile, local grocery stores and organizations are already working to fill the gaps and educate Chicagoans about healthy eating. Joining us now with more are Esther Chimerella, Executive Director of the Chicago Hispanic Health Coalition, and Dr. Evelyn Figueroa, Professor of Clinical Family and Community Medicine at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and the Director of the Pilsen Food Pantry. Thank you both for joining us. Esther, I want to start with you. This is a very important topic. How have you seen food deserts impact the types of food people are eating on a regular basis?
Well, let me present the issue that I think if food is medicine. So talking here with Dr. Figueroa is the idea that the same way you prescribe medication for people who have diabetes, hypertension, obesity, you give a prescription what kind of food they're supposed to eat and what kind of food they're supposed to. So the system need to collaborate with each other to be sure you don't go to the pharmacy and get the wrong medication for what you need. The same thing will happen. The pantries need to work together with the healthcare centers. And that way, the people get it what they needed to feel more healthy and not to be a revolving door with eating food that are not adequate for them. So the idea of not changing how the system works, we are getting more and more people with obesity and diseases. All over, and there are many countries in the world, the people know where to go to the store and they have to prepare the food for them.
And talking about that, I want to bring Dr. Figueroa in because you are a doctor, you also have a food pantry. What are some of the health conditions Latinos experience that a change in their diet could improve?
Food insecurity is associated with an increased rate of diabetes, 10% increase every year. After 10 years of being chronically food insecure, you actually double your risk of developing diabetes. Diabetes is a very pernicious and horrible disease to have that is incredibly prevalent in brown and black communities. Additionally, hypertension is more common in folks with food insecurity because not being able to purchase and afford healthy food really gets into the way of restricting sodium intake. And then other things that are a lot more common for people that have food insecurity is depression, chronic abdominal pain, inattention at school, and even life expectancy is reduced for people that are chronically food insecure.
And doctor, how do you educate people about eating the right foods?
Well, I really don't do that. I actually screen people to ask them if they have access to healthy fruits and vegetables, food that is appropriate for their diets. And when people have access to food, they tend to eat a lot better than when they don't have access. So the thing that changed a lot for me about 8 years ago when I was planning for the food pantry was just, instead of asking, are you eating healthy? I started asking, do you have access? And the access was helpful for me so that I could address if people had issues finding food in their community that was affordable, which was what came up the most. And even then, when they would mention that they used food pantries, to talk to them about what at the food pantry might be the healthiest for them, for their conditions. And they often mentioned that what was at their pantry really wasn't healthy, that they had a lot of canned food, processed food, bread, etc. And they knew that that wasn't best for them. But there are some people who don't know what they're supposed to, that for instance think juice is healthy and things like that. So if I ask them, then we have an open-ended conversation about it, and then I can address gaps, but then also find out why they're not having 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, etc.
And Esther, your organization encourages looking at food as medicine. Can you explain a little bit more what that means?
Sure. I think it's the most important thing. We have a program with community health workers. The doctor don't have sometimes time to explain many things or navigating them to get what they needed. So the community health worker, we have a program called Door to Door that we help people to go shopping with them and explain nutrition and condition. So people like to learn. Sometimes they don't have, and we know the medical care system don't have the time sometimes to have the doctor explain many things. So the component of the whole thing on the system is using community health workers to assist doctor, the team, the healthcare team, to helping them with patients who need special attention, helping them to get the medication. The same way the medication is the same, to buy good food, no processed food.
Have you seen that has been impactful? I think what is most interesting to me is when I go to a grocery store, right, and you go into, for example, the yogurt aisle. There's all these different types of yogurts, but when you look at the back, it all has extra added sugars.
Exactly. And the people we teaching them, we reinforce what the doctor want to say to them. They don't supposed to eat that type of food. And teaching, because why they pay attention, the community health worker? Because it's somebody who learn, who decrease the diabetes, decrease the hypertension, taking care of the good food they are eating. So the whole thing is the same way we want less money to pay for diabetes medication.
Would you say
we
first step?
We wanted to give food, good food, protein, no fancy things or what we call chatarra food, to good things and cost less for people who have low income. So then we can work together to change the system they need, because until now, for me, sometimes food pantries are separated, not working together. They need to work more close with the healthcare system in order to work with community health workers in the pantry. I know that many pantries have voluntary people, but those people we need to train in order to assist them.
So you're saying to work together?
Yeah, we need to work very close together. In the same way that we help with medication, we need to help to buy good food. They can go any desert or delivery food to the house, to the people. The big store can deliver it. And no people sometimes, maybe we need more store, but sometimes we need to accommodate. See, and another big thing, we need big places where people can eat because they work, and we need to work with restaurants in order to facilitate possibility of the community people.
So these are really big initiatives.
Exactly. And the same thing, the health department, and let me finish with this, we used to give citation and congratulation we try to stop smoking in restaurants.
Of course, and I want to bring
do the same thing.
I want to bring Dr. Figueroa, and thank you for your input. Dr. Figueroa, the grant program from Governor Pritzker is aimed at growing local businesses. We should also note this is a statewide initiative that is anticipating about 8 awards. How much of an impact can even just one store with fresh produce have in a neighborhood?
It can have a wonderful influence. People are really trying to stretch their dollars and buy what is healthy and what will give great nutrition and fuel to their families. Oftentimes in food deserts, not only are the foods harder to find, but the freshness and the quality is different. So even if someone did want to offer people a variety of things, maybe the strawberries are rotten and overpriced. The governor's initiative is supposed to help connect affordable produce. Produce is actually one of the only things we buy at the Pilsen Food Pantry. We spend over $1,300 a week on produce. We also buy fresh eggs, and I can tell you, people vote with their check marks. They pick their own food, and it's what people pick time and again. If people are going to be carrying things home from the pantry, they would much rather take produce over anything canned. And that's very, very consistent.
This will be impactful. Thank you both. I'm going to have to leave it at that. Thank you so much. Thank you for both.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
And that's our show tonight. Be sure to check out our website at WTTW.com/news for the very latest from WTTW News. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 7 for the Weekend Review. Now, from all of us here at Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, I'm Joanna Hernandez. Stay healthy, stay safe. Buenas noches.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud to be a multilingual law firm that provides translators for a variety of languages.